What's up, everyone? Ian Harris here again with another set of those pesky libtard facts. Although, a couple things I'm going to talk about today. Another rant. I love ranting. That's my thing. I'm trying to keep it positive, though. It's really hard to keep things positive. But I want to keep things positive today. And for the next couple times. That's what I'm going to try to do. So one thing I wanted to do is I want to talk about Joe Biden a little bit, okay? Look, instead of always talking negatively about Donald Trump, which is so easy to do and so warranted because he's a fucking scumbag. But let's talk about something nice. Joe Biden, not my favorite. He was out of the 27, I don't know, how many were there? 84 candidates to start out? By the way, don't ever say we didn't have enough. There's only two choices. We had 27 fucking candidates, okay? They ranged from Bernie Sanders to Elizabeth Warren to Kamala Harris to Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker, lots of really good candidates for all spectrums, progressive to more conservative with Bloomberg. And that's who we got. We got Joe Biden. You can be upset about it or not. He wasn't my favorite. Not at all. But he's infinitely better on every single issue than Donald Trump. Infinitely better. Infinitely better. So I just wanted to go through. Now, I'm excited for a Joe Biden presidency, and I know that people say, "Oh, don't get too complacent." I'm not, but I'm tired of going, "Oh, we're going to lose like we did again." Oh, remember what happened to Hillary? Where the numbers are very similar. Trump could come and win, and yeah, he could. The difference is that Trump was coming from nothing and building the entire time last time, and nobody liked Hillary Clinton. This time, people don't have the disdain for Joe Biden that they did for Hillary Clinton, and Trump was starting and he's going down, and the numbers are still bigger in those swing states for Biden than they were for Clinton, although they're very similar right now where Clinton led versus where Biden leads. They're very similar, so we have to be diligent. But let's, instead of being negative and going, "Oh, we're going to lose it again," let's be positive and say, what are we looking forward to? Forget the empathy, because that's amazing. That's the main thing. You look at Joe Biden, he's a real decent human being with empathy and love for people. And you look at Donald Trump and you realize he doesn't like anybody but Donald Trump. I don't even think, aside from maybe wanting to, fuck his daughter, other than that, I don't think he likes anybody. But I look at Joe Biden and I go, okay, look, yeah, he's not my favorite. But he's infinitely better on every issue. And people go, well, he's a Republican. He's a Republican light. First off, Republican light is still infinitely better than fascism extreme. But is it Republican light? He wants to do, these are his policies. I found these on his website. This is what Joe Biden is going to do. In the first 100 days, LGBTQ rights. First 100 days. He wants to get rid of, I'm reading off this, death penalty. He's against the death penalty. I'm not even necessarily against the death penalty. So he's further left than me, at least on some level. He wants a $15 minimum wage. He's against private prisons. He wants no minimum sentences, which is a huge thing. He wants to get rid of the cocaine sentencing disparity, which is, if you know, there's a huge difference between who gets what somebody who does powder cocaine gets versus what somebody who does crack cocaine is sentencing wise. Because why? Because crack cocaine is in the black communities and powder cocaine is in the rich white community. So the sentence is like, oh, you have a pound of cocaine, you get a week in prison. Oh, you smoked crack once, 25 years in prison. So they're trying to get rid of the disparities. He's for getting rid of the disparities. He wants 12 weeks paid leave for people having a kid. 12 weeks paid leave. We don't have that. Other countries do, and it works great. 2 years free education. He wants to pay anybody under $125,000 income, they would get college free for 2 years. Which is what we have in California. It's great. It's junior college for 2 years. You can get an AA. You can decide to pay it, go on and transfer, or you can move on to something else. It's not 4-year college, but it certainly cuts a lot out to have junior college free for 2 years. And then you only got 2 more years of college, and you know where you're at that point, and you don't get stuck in something that you might change your major at that point. So it's a great idea. No unlimited campaign spending. Now, I wish he'd go further. I haven't found what he says on Citizens United, but I will say this. The only people against Citizens United are Democrats and people on the left. So if you want to get rid of Citizens United, you want to work on campaign finance reform, you want to get rid of gerrymandering, you want to get rid of unlimited spending, you need to vote Democrat. There's not a single Republican that's for campaign finance. They want to take as much from as many special interest groups as possible. It's their record. I'm not making this up. You can look it up. There's not a single Republican that's for any sort of real campaign finance reform. There are Democrats who aren't for it either, but the overwhelming majority of Democrats are. The further left you get, the more they want campaign finance reform. You look at some of these campaign finance, so some other countries, you can only spend a certain amount. You get X amount of millions of dollars, and that's all you can spend. You get the same number of commercials. You get a 30-second, I get a 30-second. Well, we get 10 commercials, you get 10 commercials. That's how it should be. It should be regulated. You get the same number of commercials, the same number of exposure, and you should only be able to take X amount of money, and you should only be able to spend X amount of money. Because if you can only spend so much, you can only take so much. And it should be a low number. We should be going off grassroots and getting as much we can get from from not from corporate sponsors and super PACs, and we need to get rid of that. Right now we don't have that, so we have to spend, and we have to donate to Joe Biden, and we have to do all that sort of stuff because right now it's an uneven playing field. So until we get to a point where we can get rid of campaign finance issues and to where we can actually do something about reform and get rid of this money in these lobbies, until we can do that, we need to play by the rules that are set up. But we have to vote for people who are okay with changing those rules. And there's only one group of people that are okay with changing those rules. And Joe Biden is at the very least, according to his website, wants to get rid of unlimited campaign spending. He is for nuclear power. As part of it, and a lot of people I know on the left don't like nuclear power. I am actually for nuclear power. It is very green. The downside to nuclear power is the waste and how to deal with it. And of course, meltdowns. We don't really have meltdowns in our stuff here. We've had a few, of course, Chernobyl, which was a complete disaster, Fukushima, which was really old and outdated, and neither one of those are in our country. So if we're going to do it, we need to make sure that they're very safe, which we can do now with spending, and we need to make sure that we have a way to deal with the waste. Until we can deal with the waste, it's not a great idea, but if we can deal with the waste, it will be a very efficient green energy. You look at places, France, Germany, they're funding the grid out there, they're clean energy. They use nuclear, they use wind, they use solar, they use all of it. He is for it, but he says with new development. So that's great. He's open to looking at nuclear with new development, and I think that's the way we should do it. He wants no new oil or gas leases. He wants student loan debt to be relieved through bankruptcy. I think we could go a little bit further, but hey, at least it's a start. We're moving in the right direction. He wants to sign the Paris Accord immediately. Back to the Paris Accord. I can't believe we're the only fucking country in the world that stepped out of the Paris Accord, except for what, maybe Russia? I don't even know. So he wants back in the Paris Accord. He wants net zero emissions by 2050. Some people want 2040. Hey, great, let's work to 2040. And if we get to 2050, that'd be fucking amazing. So yes, it could be better. Donald Trump doesn't want net zero emissions ever. He believes climate change is a Chinese liberal hoax, just like COVID, the one that's killing everybody that he's doing nothing about. So 2050 net zero emissions is a great fucking start. It's a great goal, but it's also a great start. So he wants to eliminate the cash bail system. You can look that up if you don't know what that's about. He wants to restore the Voting Rights Act. He is for decriminalizing cannabis and expunging all the sentences people who are in for laws that are no longer on the books. We have people in prison and in jails for things that are legal now. So he wants to expunge all of those, and that's great. He also wants to do the universal pre-K childcare, which is, I think, one of the Elizabeth Warren's thing that she's convinced him on. So eliminate childcare for 3 and 4 year olds before kindergarten. Free childcare. So you can go to work. We can all make money. We don't have to pay. Here in California, it's like $1,200, $2,000 a month for childcare. It's crazy. So it'd be free. That's amazing. So those are just the things I saw on his website. Aside from the empathy and the compassion and all of that sort of stuff, and aside from the fact that he doesn't want to kill 200,000, or they're saying by the time of the first of the year, maybe 400,000 Americans dead of COVID. He would at least not fire the fucking pandemic team, and he would want to do something about dead Americans. He also doesn't call amputees or people who lost their lives or who got hurt in the war. He doesn't call them losers and suckers. So you know what? Joe Biden was not my favorite. Again, maybe my 10th, my 7th, I don't know, on the list of people. But Joe Biden is a bazillion times better than Donald Trump on every issue I care about. And if you're a progressive, you're a Democrat, if you're a moderate, every issue you care about, Joe Biden is infinitely closer to what you want than Donald Trump. I guarantee it, and we have to move that direction. And on top of that, even if he's not, if nothing else, he's a decent human being who doesn't rape 13-year-olds, who doesn't want to fuck his daughter, who doesn't pay off prostitutes to keep their mouth shut, doesn't fire everybody like General Kelly and General Madison, everybody that's ever worked for him. He doesn't fire them. He doesn't get rid of people like Vindman who force them out, talk shit about them. He doesn't talk shit about troops. He doesn't do any of this kind of stuff. He's not super corrupt like Donald Trump. He's not out to make money and ignore things like the emoluments clause and these things that are set up to stop corruption. Donald Trump is the most corrupt, the biggest swamp dweller we've ever had in this. And at the very least, if you're a Republican, you're like, well, I don't really care about healthcare, which is another thing Joe Biden wants to create a public option for healthcare. And again, it's not Medicare for all, it's not healthcare for all yet, but it is giving healthcare for everyone who wants it, who doesn't want to use their private insurance, which right now, by the way, even if you do have private insurance, there are 11 million new people unemployed, unemployment near 9%, and that's fudging the numbers. So you don't even have health care if you had health care through your employer, because you don't have an employer now because of COVID and because of Donald Trump. So if nothing else, if you don't care about you don't care about a $15 minimum wage, you don't care about whether sentences for black people versus white people, you don't care about private prisons, you don't care about health care or the climate change, you don't have a kid, so you're not worried about free college, or you don't care about free child care, you don't care about any of those things. At least care about the fact that we can have a decent human being in there who is not a psychopath and is not a greedy fucking nut. So let's go there. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time. Please like, subscribe to all my whatever channels I'm on, YouTube, Facebook, all that. And check out Critical and Thinking Podcast with Ty Barnett and Ian Harris every Friday at noon on Facebook. Thank you guys very much.